go. Hi, I was like, that sounds like Stranger Things. Hi, I am Honesty Liller, CEO of the McShin Foundation. I make rare appearances on this beautiful podcast, but tonight is super, super special to me, and we'll get into that later why. But I have two amazing women guests that I wanted to introduce first, and then kind of, I guess, really quick. Anna, you might not know this. So you've been, I guess, my secret mentor. So I met Anna through Mobilize Recovery through Ryan Hampton, which is a really huge supporter of McShin for years and friend of ours. And so all of her free podcasts, I've listened to them on the way to work and try to take mental notes because I'm driving and we can't technically write while we're driving. And she really, I talked about for about 2 years, talked about, well, year one, talk about writing a book. And then year two is when 2 years ago or whatever for Mobilize, you did all the virtual stuff when COVID hit. So then this past year, I've been following you on social media since then, and you've been one of my biggest mentors to finally write the effing book. So the book is done. It is getting published by January, hopefully. And we'll talk more about that. But anyway, so Anna David, New York Times best-selling author, amazing woman in recovery. We'll get into all the cool shit you get to. I mean, gosh, cool stuff that you get to do. Sometimes
say shit.
I forgot my CEO hat. Where is that?
Mhm.
And then through Anna, I did a podcast through Mobilize. A Zoom through Mobilize, and I got to meet Jaydee Graham and bought her book immediately. Read it within, I don't even know, like a week, because it was so. I love books that are so good that you just can't put down, and you're just like, well, one more chapter. So I personally appreciate that because I have a very fulfilling, busy life, and to have real stories for me, those are my favorites. So your book is phenomenal, and we'll get into that too. So yeah, and then this is our boy Nathan Mitchell. He is really the king of hosting here at McShin. I'm just kind of do a few here and there, and then we have Justin back there. Is how he makes all the magic happen is Justin Bonner.
Hi there. You can't see me, but you can hear me.
Yes. So he's secretly in podcast. I don't want to say heaven, but the clouds. So yeah. So
that's funny because earlier today he was referred to as God by Testify Tuesday Walter.
Lord. Well, I ain't gonna go that far, but we keep it real at McShin. We have a really good time. So with that, I guess we'll just start with Anna. Just who are you? What you do? What are you doing with your life? And then we'll get into some questions and all that stuff too.
Okay, well, first I want to say I did know I was your secret mentor. My backstory with you is, Ryan connected me to you and John years ago, and I was very intimidated because, you have this official, you do important shit out there in the world. And I think we even talked. And then there is just such a thing, and I always tell people this, of getting people, anybody you want at a certain level who's not huge, you basically popped up all the time, and you would comment, and you'd go, Anna's class was awesome. And I'm like, who is this woman? She's so amazing. So I felt like I knew you. And I will say I did blurb your book, and I, in a non-self-aggrandizing way, I'm asked to blurb books all the time. And I was so honored and happy to blurb yours because of this relationship. And we've never been in the same room, and I'm not even sure we've ever talked, but it's such a great lesson in, if you are out there being supportive of people and taking in their content, say that, because they'll notice. Anyway, that was about you, sort of.
Yes, her and Ryan and a couple other people did the blurb for my book. So yes, thank you. And this is and we'll get into like how y'all started and everything, but it is so hard. but yes, so Anna's huge in the recovery community too. And so
21 years in 2 days.
And I saw you. Yeah,
Whoa.
I posted that. Yeah, in 2 days, 21 years. You look 21.
I was gonna say you got recovery in the womb.
We're all pixeled over here. She's looking all California over there.
I got a really nice camera. I had this epiphany that I realized during COVID, everyone got these great cameras, and I was part of this summit, and I was like all gross and small and blurry. And so I got a camera that's really nice.
Good to know. What are you
But yeah, no, I got sober at 30. I'm 51. And yeah, and I've written 8 books, mostly about recovery. And yeah, TEDx talks, the whole thing. And most relevantly, my company published Jaydee's first book,
Mhm.
the
Whoa!
aforementioned Soul Grind. Yep.
Yeah, Jaydee. So introduce yourself and how you got here and how you got started with your book.
Oh my. Okay. So first of all, I love being in these type of conversations. And I texted Anna after finding out about this, and like she was your mentor, she was a woman to me that was a mirror image of a woman that can support other women. And you
Mhm.
don't find that often. And so I found it so beautiful that she is a woman that has been so successful, but she is the first one to also support other women in being successful. So I'm so pumped to be here. Like you said, I'm Jaydee. I am the author of The Soul Grind, Fighting for Light Amidst the Trenches. I'm also a social worker. I work I'm assistant program director at a nonprofit in Louisville, and I am a mom and a healing woman, and I'm sober 6.5 years, and I am just every day grinding and healing and on the journey to be the best version of myself. So
Mhm.
And drinking lots of coffee.
all
Coffee
the time.
shops.
I just saw your video. I was on Insta before I came in here, or Instagram, whatever they call it these days.
Yes.
So everyone's so hipper than me. But yeah, and I love just laughing. Like, and I tell people all the time, like, Facebook's cool and all, but Instagram just makes my heart like warm. I don't know. It's like something about Insta that is just such a spiritual connection in a different level. But yeah, women supporting women and like just so much more positivity on there. So I appreciate all those videos. I was like, I just thought of when because we had a little break between, we got dinner, and I was like, I'm going to start doing super cool videos. I said, we're going to start doing karaoke podcasts. So it just puts you in a totally different mood. So that inspired karaoke podcast. So you hear it here first, your videos before I came up here. Well,
I'm
what
scared.
you got?
I'm very, very scared of
No.
that karaoke podcast
I think it'll
idea.
be fun.
How does it work? You're interviewing while singing, or I mean, I love it.
I would love to interview famous singers that are in recovery. So if you know of any, Anna, let me know. Or
Macklemore.
Jaydee.
Macklemore.
Well, you do know
Macklemore.
Macklemore.
I'd love
But
to get him on the show.
Yeah. But I
Well-
think it would just be us doing it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that too. But I have this vision of who's the British guy? Is that James Corden who does the
Karaoke.
car karaoke or whatever?
Yeah.
I kind of have that in my head as a starting
He
ground.
did a good one with Mariah Carey when she did her Christmas songs.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, we kind of get all.
We do, but
all
I
over
have
the
a
place.
question. I have
Yes.
a question for you, Anna.
Yes.
Do you prefer to be so when we talk about the podcast here, I'm very, very quick to correct anybody who just says the podcast, and instead I say we are the award-winning recovery
Yeah.
podcast, Get in the Herd. Do you walk around correcting people and say, by the way, I'm New York Times bestselling author Anna David? Because I would probably do that for like the first month until I got slapped in the face or I got a ticket or something.
I so much to say about this. Actually, what I have to do is the opposite. People will hear New York Times best-selling author of 8 books, and their brains will say best-selling. They'll say 8-time New York Times best-selling author, which is so very different. So very different. And can I tell you, like, yeah, I had the weirdest thing with my college. I went to I always get emails from people who went to my college who say, hey, I want to be a writer, can you help me? And so I contact the college. I go, what if I did an alumni event online? I could help all these people. They didn't believe me that I was a New York Times bestselling author. It was the craziest thing. This English professor there accidentally sent me an email. She was trying to send the guy arranging the event, and was like, I can't find evidence of this anywhere. She certainly makes a big deal about it. I know, it was so shocking. And I went so crazy a little bit that I was like, am I making this up? And I called the agent for that book and I go, am I making this up? He's like, no, here's a link to it. Anyway, so I didn't end up doing the event. It's not awful. Trinity College, hardly like Harvard. You know what I mean? Like, calm down.
Gosh, that's crazy. Well, I mean, it is award winning. It's up there.
Yeah. Who gave you guys an award?
The Richmond Times Dispatch for best local podcast. And listen. This was in 2020. In 2021, when they were doing this year, they didn't even have that as a category.
No.
So I figured that we have it.
We won 2
What's the Latin form for eternity?
Ad infinitum.
Ad infinitum. There we go.
Yeah.
I think we have it.
Permanent.
And yeah, so that's what we are. We are the award-winning recovery podcast in ad infinitum. We'll have to work on the language there. Getting the herd. So I love that, and I appreciate that. And so when you are working with people who are writing books, you know, and I met you. Well, I was in the group with you online last year at Mobilize 2019, and I was actually in the room.
He went to Mobilize.
Yeah, I was in Vegas. I didn't meet you, but I saw you speak, and of course it was you're amazing. And I look at your books and blah blah blah, and I'm like, and when you were breaking that down, I'm like, writing a book, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I can do that. No, I can't. No, no, I can't. Oh, I can do that. No,
Totally.
I can't. And then you offered all this help, and I went, I don't know. So you have 2 people right here with us, and both of whom have recently written books. You're now published, Jaydee. That's correct, right?
Mhm.
And you are about to be
Yes.
published. Where do you start with somebody? Is it individual? Is it?
Well, okay, I will tell you. So, Jaydee, I want you to tell a story. Jaydee came to us with a finished book, so I can take no credit for that. So, and then Honesty, I feel like used some of the free tools and went and wrote it on her own. So, wait, Jaydee, so what was so you basically were like, I want to have a book that would have helped me when I was struggling. That was your motivation, right?
Absolutely. And definitely to start healing. So I started actually writing my book in therapy. And then I was doing a timeline of my life at the time. So she had it like all written on. If you've read my book, obviously you realize how much happened in a very short amount of time. So the first part of my healing was actually like diving into my own story. And then when I started to write it, it first was on the wall, like while we were doing the work. And then I put it on a computer. And I remember one day, like looking at all these pages and being like, well, we might as well just wrap it all up and make it a book. And I had blogged for a while, and I had like started posting my story on social media. So I would take those blogs or those posts and I would start putting them into my Google Doc. And after a while, since it was pieces of my life, it all started to like go in chronological order. But yeah, then I just kept on grinding. And I kept on writing. And the story about finding Anna and her awesome team was because my mom actually saw her on Good Morning America. And my mom is like my person. And she one day it was during COVID, so we were like socially distancing, and she had bought her book, How to Make Your Mess and Memoir. I might have said that in the opposite direction.
I think you're memoir a mess.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let me get the title right. Make Your Mess Your Memoir.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay. Sorry. I'm glad everybody was following that. But yes. So she gave it to me and like literally was like handed it to me socially distanced and was like, you need to read this. I saw her on Good Morning America and like, you just need to read it. So I read it and I read the whole thing super fast. And one thing I loved about that book was that it was authentic. It was like unapologetic. It was like I was talking to another woman. It was in a way that I could understand. And it was like, it just was beautiful. And I was like, this is like how I write. So it honestly like validated too, that like not every writer has to look the same. Your writing should be the way that you write and the way that you talk. And it can be like having a conversation with you. And it was so beautiful. So then I hopped to the back. I looked up all of her social media. I low-key stalked her. And then I emailed her and I reached out and was like, the first time I gave it a try, I didn't get a response. The second time I was like, I'm going for it again. And this time I'm putting all my social media, I'm putting all my story, I'm putting all my videos. I'm going to put everything out there because this is the team that I think is literally who I have to have with me. Like, this is who I want on this journey with me. And so the next thing I knew, she emailed me and was like, want to chat? And I was like, yeah, I do want to do that. I
didn't know you emailed twice. You never told me that before. It must have gotten lost because who would not respond to you right away?
And the second I talked to her on the phone, I was like, this is it. Like, everything has happened for a reason. And the fact that it came from my mom first, and then it just all aligned. I got goosebumps. Like, I just was like, this is who I need to work with. So the team was absolutely incredible from start to finish. They honored my voice. They honored like every single part of the process. They rattled me when I needed to. It was just, I couldn't have imagined, like, when people have bad experiences, like, I literally can't imagine that with something so intimate, because writing a book, like you said, is so hard. It's so hard. It's intimate. And so, like, I couldn't imagine doing that with someone that wasn't like respecting and supporting and like empowering the process, because it's a super hard process. So you need a really good group of people to do it with you. It took me, I wrote for 2 years, and then the Launchpad team worked with me, and I think we did it. I think it was like 6 to 8 months that we grinded on that.
Yeah.
It was a quick turnaround. It was beautiful and quick, and it was just amazing. I enjoyed every single second of it.
And we enjoyed every single second with you. She's kind of our favorite client. We still talk about her.
Well, I loved it.
But what was really amazing too is Jaydee went and took it and ran with it. I think a lot of people have this expectation. I'm going to do this book and I'm going to start getting emails from people that are like, come speak, come on the show. Or they think we're going to do it for them, no matter how many times we explain. And it's like, I just would go to Instagram and Jaydee's on TV talking about her book. And, you really understood that it was a ball you had been passed, and it was up to you to put it, whatever, do the touchdown with it. You got it into Barnes and Noble. All of that stuff was really, I just love that.
Yeah. And y'all,
it's a true grind. You have to really like.
Yeah. Yeah. So y'all two both just, your interview on the Zoom with Anna for Ryan's thing, for Mobilize, Ryan's thing. So I've been taking all these notes this past year because I wrote it this year. My husband finally just said, F and write the book, because I've been talking about it for 2 years, and then was like scary. You're scared. You're like, no one's going to like it. I suck. Then all those emotions come in. Like, then when you have children and because my daughter was born in withdrawal from heroin. So that's a big piece of the story. And then it's just so emotional writing it. I'm crying. I'm just in my bed because our house is small. Like, anyway, so I'm in my bed every night, like typing, and, it is a very emotional, but it was a very healing process. And I heard you say the word healing. So for me, so much stuff, because it's about my life. So much past trauma and stuff that I thought I did through because I'm in recovery too for over 14 and a half years. I'm an alum of McShin. So I came through McShin. My daughter was 5. I had nothing but a couple bags of clothes, and I lived here for 5 months. And then I started working here at 5 months in recovery, but I was, it was a different world, and I was a different person. So I've been working here for 14 years and CEO for 8 years as well. So my life is fulfilling. It's amazing. I love it here. I love our people. But the stuff I thought I did through my 12-step work, some of it didn't come out in my 12. It came out in this book, and it's not like a super 4-step book, but like, I didn't realize like how much and I've read, I'm speaking to your book, Jaydee, because I read and I felt your book. You know what I mean? It wasn't just I'm reading this book because I feel like she's a super cool chick. It was like I really could feel your book and feel your pain. My story's not exactly like yours, but parts of it was. And it's like, when you sit here and you write this, like, you can do it. Like, when you write this, about your life, and it's going out to the world, hopefully all over the nation, but it is so scary. But for me, it was, and like my husband says, because he's a huge part of the story and the stuff we've been through, is like, Yeah, but who cares if you never sell a book, which I am because we're in jails, so we're going to get them from the jails. But you
To
had
be
it.
clear, we're not in jail.
It did sound like that.
No. Did I say that? I've actually never been to jail. Well, I get to go in them and leave. Yeah. But anyway, so it was just like he was just saying, and kind of, you got to have these people in your life that surround you that are amazing, that if it doesn't sell, at least you got to heal through this process. And wasn't going, I just wanted to write my book and see what happened, whatever God, kind of like spaghetti on the wall, whatever God kind of gives me, or whatever. So I like that part of the writing process. In your book, Anna, so we talked about the first part of your book. I just told these lovely gentlemen about that.
Oh, Party Girl.
Yeah, Party Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
I know, because Nathan's blushing. So
I know,
clearly you did.
Well, y'all need to buy her book. They're both on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Perfect Christmas or holiday gift for both of their books. And we can put it in the notes, or maybe you can find it at the bottom to put their websites. But what was I saying? Oh, Party Girl. Oh my gosh. So I was one of the advanced readers. So my name is in the back of her book. Hey. And I did the review and I did everything because this was literally one of those ones. I was sitting on my front porch because I love my old lady rocking chair, and just read, you couldn't, it's like, oh my gosh. So it's like one of those type of books where it's just like, you feel like you're watching a movie, and those are the best damn books. I hate, no offense to boring people out there, but boring books, I love, and Jaydee's is you should make a movie. John read my book because a couple people have read it. John, the founder, is in it, and I'm a product of McShin. So I wanted him and Carol to read it. And he called me the next morning. And if you know John, which I think you do, and he's like, oh my, you gotta make a movie from this. And yeah, so it was really cool to be able to see. But Party Girl, though, girl, that is amazing. And you're making a movie, right?
Kind of. Well, it's Hollywood bullshit, so you never really know. But yeah, the book originally came out in 2007. HarperCollins published it, and it was supposed to be this really big deal. And then Regan Books, my division that I was with, went under. I got fired. It was all a big nightmare. So nothing happened, and it always broke my heart because it's the most authentic book. I didn't even think, opening a book with a threesome is really outrageous. I didn't think. I just wrote, and and again, I too don't want to offend boring people, but my problem with a lot of recovery memoirs, back then there were far fewer, is that they were boring when the person got sober. It was oh my God, they're in the gutter and the needles and the prostitution or whatever. And then I go to meetings. And so I was like, how can I make it really entertaining once the character's sober? And I felt I could do that more effectively if it was a novel. So anyway, I always felt like I got screwed. It didn't happen the way, it wasn't really even in bookstores and all the things. So even though it was tons of media attention, it was on the Today Show, it was on all the things, it really didn't sell particularly well. So I got the rights back from HarperCollins, and over the years, it's been optioned over and over again. But I took the rights back. My cover designer did that new cover, and I got to kind of launch it the way I always wanted it to be launched. And so the movie right now, Jeff Garland from Curb Your Enthusiasm is attached as a producer and to play the drug counselor. And it's I was submitted a movie last night by a director it's just been given to, and a potential actress, but it's all very much in the nothing's real till a check's been transferred. It's not even real then. It's not even real till the director says action, I think.
Are you writing the screenplay? I mean, or
yes, I did write it. Back in the day when the book first came out, there were tons of offers, and Melanie Griffith, who I knew, was one of the offers, and she said, I want you to write this screenplay, because she was a fan of the book. And I met with her and Antonio Banderas, and it was all very glamorous. And I said, I don't know how to write a screenplay, because I really had tried and I wasn't good. Over the pandemic, my boyfriend is a screenwriter, producer, and he's brilliant when it comes to structure. And he said, I've come up with the structure. He just wanted to keep me entertained during the pandemic, so I didn't, go totally mental. And so it was just, he gave me an outline and I wrote it, and it's actually really good, which is shocking because there's some real shitty scripts in my past. And it was good. And then I met Jeff Garlin, and then we rewrote the script together, and it just kind of gets better and better. And so, yeah, it's written by me. If a writer director comes on, I expect it to change before it is shot, because that's just what Hollywood, they need to like pee all over it. And I'm sure it can be much better. But yeah, I wrote it.
I'm excited. I'm gonna buy it too. I'm gonna go to the actual theater for that.
Well, yeah, and
That's amazing.
when you get to that point, and when you get to that point as well, JD,
Mhm.
we will host. We
We're
will
big at
host you.
hosting tons
Yeah,
of shit here.
we're good at getting other organizations to pay for hosting
Paying.
previews of movies. We're doing a preview of the Tipping the Pain Scale next week. So we could do that for you all.
That sounded like they're writing us a check, kind of. I mean, that's with someone else's money.
I don't know shit.
No, shh.
So, okay.
Right here. No, we're doing. Greg Williams. His new. Yeah, his Tip in the Pain Scale. We're
he's
doing
got
a
a
screening of that.
movie.
Yeah, he's got a new documentary. They played it at Mobilize. I didn't go because I had COVID, so he.
Oh, that's right.
Watch. I know I was on your Zoom with COVID because I wanted to learn free shit.
And then you got to meet JD. I mean, hey.
I know, it's in my bed. I was like, should I ask the question? I was like, well, I got COVID. I can barely talk, but I really want to know this answer. So, I mean, I'm all about, free and getting stuff.
I'm all about the free too. I have a question. So JD, I haven't read your book. And so I'm curious because I think a lot of people, listening won't have yet read it. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't mind, would you kind of share a little bit of your story? Because I'm listening to, of course I love honesty, and I'm like, okay, I'll read this book, and I'm listening to Anna. Anna doesn't sign my check, and I'm excited to read JD's book, and I'm like, okay, what's it about? I'm going to read it anyway, but what's it about? So tell us if you don't mind.
Well, it is 20 years of my life. So it's literally from my, what you see at the very beginning, my, fairy tale life that very quickly changed due to, addiction and domestic violence. And as a young girl, you kind of walk my journey very rawfully and honestly, how I tried to cope and how I tried to navigate life. And a lot of it is how I tried to avoid all of it. And so really to just condense it, I became very angry, and underneath that was a bunch of sadness. And I never really had spaces to really express myself ever. So in turn, I just use everything else to try to find a way to feel, or try to find a way to not feel, or really just trying to run for my own life. And so you kind of go through the journey of that with me. And I was sent to a residential care facility for troubled teens when I was a junior for 7.5 months of my life, literally just ripped out of my life. I've been arrested. I barely graduated high school. I followed in my dad's footsteps. And one thing that I hated so much about him was his addiction to pills. And then I began to try them myself and realize maybe why he liked them so much. And so in that, I got myself in a lot of really hard and difficult situations that led to an abusive relationship, and me finding out that I'm pregnant at the age of 20. So that kind of is where the book ends, and where my second book begins. So I'm actually writing the second book now. Like you said, the journey in writing is definitely like reliving, but it's not only reliving, it's reliving it over and over again. I remember when the book was being edited, having to go through it and then process through it again. And then, okay, here we go again, like one more time, and then, and there's some chapters of my book, actually, The Soul Grind, I will never read again. Because that was, I knew so badly in my heart that so many people needed to read that. but there's only so many times I could go back and write it. So now that's where the last book left off is where my second one obviously begins. And those first, like through my pregnancy and following that, is some of the hardest times of my life. So when you're writing about your life and doing it in a way that's literally like, I wanted people to be sitting with me, you know, and so when I was talking about the color of people's clothing, you know, what the furniture looked like in the room, what it felt like, because the only way that some people can step into their own stories is like by stepping into yours. And then they're like, ooh, like me too, you know? And so, and it was actually crazy. The feedback that I got, you know, when you're writing a book, you're like, oh, this part's going to get them, you know, like this part's going to reel people in, or this part is really going to get some heartstrings, or this part is going to be what helps somebody get out of their trenches. And like the feedback that I got is so crazy, because like people are like, that one sentence that you wrote on that one page, like was so me. And I never thought the pieces that I thought were going to really resonate with people didn't. It was all the other pieces that identify with people's stories that I never even thought of. You know, it was like what I was wearing, or what one person said, or a conversation that I had with somebody. And so it's the powerful thing about writing your story is seeing that sometimes not even the most powerful parts for you are the most powerful parts for somebody else. Somebody is going to resonate with even the pieces that you don't even think are significant, you know? And so that's the most powerful part of, to me, the process. And not only that's how I went into it, was like, if anything, I'm going to be able to heal a lot through this. But if it can impact one person, you know, like you said, that's all that matters. And it was a huge ripple effect. I had people, I don't know if you've read, this is crazy, I'm going to have to tell her this, but if you've read the book, there's a part in the book where I'm hanging out with a neighbor, and I talk about how I got to sneak away and be myself and like listen to Britney Spears music, and we would play on the playground. I would be like,
Britney,
baby,
Free
one more
Britney.
time. Yeah. Well, my mom never let me, and my parents never let me listen to like secular music, you know? So I would go up there and be living my best life, right? Like, I'm gonna go up there, I get to listen to Britney Spears. And we found each other after the book on social media, and she just came to my women empowerment event 2 days ago, and I have not seen her since we were like in elementary school.
Oh, I thought you said Britney
I was
Spears,
thinking-
girl.
No,
Do more shit on social media. What?
no, the little girl that danced with me on the playground. I know.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes. And so it's crazy. It's crazy what like you speaking your truth and what you stepping into your story brings back to you and what brings to others. So it's just crazy. It's beautiful and messy and hard and crazy.
Yeah, it is. And part of your story, I like when you went outside, like and it was cold, like you could feel, I don't know, I just like that descript, like you could feel cold, because how many times I snuck out of my house, jumping out of my window, jumping back in when the alarm clock's going off for school, you know? And it was just like, I mean, it was, gosh, my life. I don't even put that in the book, but that happened many of years, very young teenage girl. But it was like you could feel, like you could literally feel, I could feel, you know, that shit. Like, I'm like, gosh, I forgot when I was reading it. I was like, and just jumping out of windows and like, and just all this stuff we do as little girls. Like, I know I still have a little girl inside of me that needs to heal because of my childhood trauma, you know? And it's like, I don't know. I just love connecting with people like that too. To be able to like feel, because we all know each other really pretty well here at McShane. I mean, our staff, we're all in recovery. Everybody, 96% of our staff have all lived in our housing. We have about 28, maybe now 29 staff members at McShane. We have 13, almost 13 recovery houses. So all of us are pretty close knit. And when you hear someone's story, especially someone that you work with every day too, it's so impactful. And I know, and it's weird. Like, so I guess for that, I can ask both of you. Well, you're super famous and all over the place, Anna David.
New York Times best-selling
I know.
author.
Well, she's just
Of eight New York Times bestsellers.
I know. I like how you word it too. I know, but because I get it. I was like, I wonder how many people confuse, like, where are the 8 books? The lady from the Trinity School looking for 8 books. They're like,
Yep.
crying. But
This bitch.
I forgot where I was going with that.
You were complimenting me. I remember that.
It was really quick before I forget. So, you did Joe Gorga's book?
Yeah.
I am obsessed with
Shut
the
up.
housewives. No, well, I love Melissa. She's my favorite Jersey, but I love New York. Roni original. I just saw that because your new picture on your all the book on your cover.
Oh, yeah.
It's super cool, by the way. And then I saw Joe Gorga. I was like, I love the Gorgas.
He was so great. I got to say, he was our second client. And
really?
yeah, he was so cool, but he was hilarious because he was like, okay, I need a book. We're like, great. We signed the contract. And then he goes, oh, you know what? I have an event next month. I need it by next month. Oh, and actually I need it to be a bestseller by the event. And so we did it. We pulled it off. And then he had me speak at the event. The event has since been brought down in scandal. It was called Grow with Gorga.
Oh,
and like
that was in the next season. Yeah, with those two people that wanted the money, the man. I don't remember their name.
But I was there and they had the cameras. And I was like, I remember we were kind of like trying to get in the background of like Melissa and Joe talking. They were like, excuse me, lady, can you move? But he let me, I gave a speech there. He was really great, actually.
I love him. I love the Gorgas. And anyway, I just noticed that. I was like, I'm really into Salt Lake City right now. But you have your vices, right? I like Jersey, Salt Lake City, and New York.
There's a Housewives of Salt Lake City?
Yes.
Oh,
and
wow.
Where have you been?
A huge scandal right now. Huge scandal on that. But anyway.
Well, I'm Beverly Hills only.
See, I've never watched the Beverly Hills. I know. I just like I binge watched Roni because my little sister's in. She was like, "You gotta watch that if you like the other one." So I watched it, and like right when COVID, like when we were trapped, I'll just watch. But anyway, we're off subject. But I saw Joe Gorga. I love him. But anyway, so yeah, so Jaydee, I guess a question because like I guess I might need it. I need advice from both of you. So. Okay, CEO, woo of McShen. So I have this book coming out, and it's about my life. And again, John's in it, McShen's in it, obviously, and a lot of intimate stuff. Like, how do you, like, at being a social worker and being who you are professionally, because I have expectations put on me as the CEO here, and like I'm gonna have this tell-all sexual some stuff in that book. Like can y'all give me or anybody out there writing a book that's a professional but their book is coming out, like what advice could you give? I guess I'm being selfish right now, but also the world, both of you, like how do you work or how do you help your clients, Anna, too, around that?
It's so sad that you even have to ask that question, because it's like, how do I hide pieces of myself so I can be where I am? I mean, like, like that's how society is sometimes. It's like, in order to be professional, you can't share like where you came from. In order to be a boss lady, make sure that you don't have too much messiness, like, and so one thing I really had to, and I think in my whole entire journey, it was being able to be like who I am and being able to stand in that. And I think the biggest piece, because I live, in Louisville, Kentucky, where I live, everybody knows everybody. So the biggest messes that I made are here. So like, it's not like people don't look at me today and they're like, Jaydee, hey, because like my mess didn't go away. My journey like here is still coded in like my pain and coded in my actions and my mistakes and my numbness and like all of that. And so I have had to learn to like really be able to stand as the woman I am and to keep grinding and to like realize that I should be able to be assistant program director. I should be able to have my master's in science of social work. I should be able to be paid to go tell my messy, hard story, and I can still be really good at my job and I can still be a professional and I can still be like highly educated and intelligent. And I can be all those things plus all that made me, and I think that I've been really trying to push recently, like women to start sharing their in-betweenness, to start sharing how they got to where they are. Because we have so many women and so many young women that are like only seeing the end versions of people, and they're like, well, how do you get there? Because I'm here, and like, we need to be showing all ages and all young women and all professionals, whether you be a CEO, whether you be ever, that like you didn't get here overnight, right? And there's lots of messiness in between. And if we can start owning that, and then the next day putting on our name tags that says CEO, I think the world would be a better place, because nobody is perfect and everyone has mistakes and everyone has messiness of their life. The bravest ones are the ones that are willing to show up in that and to take, and shatter glass ceilings while you're doing it, and like, and I really want that to start being the push, is that we show both where we are, but we don't do so without showing where we've been. And I think that a lot of young women, I could have totally benefited from that as a young girl. Because like in my book, I never thought, like in my life, I never thought that I would ever be able to be something, that I would ever be able to. I wasn't smart enough to get an education, or because I had stuff on my record, I was never going to get hired, or like, why even try go to college, or why even try to do this and this. And that's because I saw no one, zero people that were owning that it was hard. So I was just looking at people that were buying homes, or that were somehow just graduating college, or that had these significant jobs. And I'm over here like, well, there's no room for me because here I am stuck, And I had no idea that other women in those roles were stuck in them, like still stuck. So, and I'm going to be real honest, after I published the book, there was a time period that, vulnerability has its highs and its lows. There was something rattled me after I published the book, and it wasn't soon after. It was like a month and a half after. And I just was like I felt it all. You know how sometimes people are like, you just feel like you're butt naked in front of everybody, right? So there was a period where I felt like I was just walking around just nude. I'm just nude. Here I am. Here's all my stuff, blah, blah, blah. And because once you publish all your stuff, people are going to come to you. And they're going to say, me too, me too, me too, my sibling, my sister, my whatever. And that's what you yearn for, right? But after a certain amount of time, you're like, okay, I got to take care of some of me too, because I'm still healing. There's still an aftermath after I just put all that in the world. There still is like an aftermath on me, and needing to take care of myself. So I soon after got back into therapy, and I like started doing my work again and started trying to be like, okay, Jaydee, we got to put our healthy coping mechanisms back, and you're not going to be able to answer all those messages. You're not going to be able to answer all those things. They can wait for a few days. And you got to take care of you. Yeah.
Do you have somebody who helps you answer those questions? I mean, obviously they want
no, like Anna said, is Jaydee, me, myself, and I. And that's what, that was the most, I think that's why it's such like writing my book and the book launch day was one of the most beautiful days of my life. And I think it's because like her team helped me so much get there. And then I like hit the ground after that. And I was like, there's so many girls that need this. There's so many women that need this. If I put all this into it, let's get it in the hands of people, and so it was like all the messages, all the social media posts. I reached out to all of the like news stations, all of the stores. I went into every single Barnes and Noble. And so a lot of that was like, it was me doing my work. I felt like I need to do my work. But yeah, I've had to learn how to say, like, put some of my messages on pause, and to how to like let some wait for a few days, and take breaks when I need to, and like not post for a little bit, or post different types of content, or like that type of stuff. But it's definitely a journey. Yeah. You figure it out as you go, just like life.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out as I go. Yeah.
I have so many things. Can I chime in? Like there were so many things that you said, Jaydee, that were so well said. And It's interesting because people, rag on LA and everyone's so shallow and blah, blah, blah. Living here, it never occurred to me that I couldn't share my truth. Like, I got all this credit for being so brave. And Lena Dunham has this quote, "It's not brave if you're not scared." It wasn't brave. I didn't know. And I was raised in a family, like I said, I'm Jew. Like, we talk about our shit. Like, I've been in therapy since I was 16, and I'm a writer. So people would expect a writer in LA to be a crazy addict. So I literally did not understand, because I'm in my little bubble, that there were people out there who didn't have that freedom, who were CEOs of big organizations where it was going to possibly look less than professional. And so it's almost like that world that Jaydee described. Like, I almost live in it. LA really, and being a creative person in LA, you really do have a lot of freedom. And so I felt that in retrospect, there are things I might not have shared had I been further along in my emotional journey. Honestly, I don't want to freak you out, but like,
I don't know, you're good. I mean, my story's all over the place, but this book has way more detailed stories. Like, I'm not afraid. I go into jails. I speak on podcasts, and I've got documentaries, that I'm in, and all of that I could tell my story, and I get messages and all that. So you're not scaring me. It was more of like, I guess I'm just fearful of stuff people don't know about me and my husband and about my daughter, and most people I share about Destiny, my daughter, and the stuff that I put her through in my addiction. I'm very open about that. It took me years through recovery to be open about that. It's more of like, to be honest, the recovery years and like stuff that has happened, in recovery, that, I don't want people to think bad about my husband or like whatever. I don't know. So it's just kind of like those other fears. Okay, the book is done. My husband was the first person to read it because I wanted him to be comfortable for what is going to be out in the world. And then my 19-year-old, almost 20-year-old daughter read it, and she was like, "It's interesting," because it's like I went through a lot as a child, and she know, and we're very open in our house, and we keep it real in our house or whatever. It's more of like, I guess, the fear of like, I don't know. I guess it's just the fear of like the more intimate details that I only really share with my close network. I don't share with my staff, and stuff like that. So let me rephrase that. Like, I'm not afraid of my story. I'm afraid of the tiny little details that are big parts of my story.
Well, and when I say there's stuff, I wouldn't have written so much about sex. That's just, and I was what?
I told them, I said, by the way, guys, her first like paragraph is about, and they were like, huh?
Well, I'm more excited about this interview. I thought it was going to be boring.
Though, if I can pipe in there, because, so much of my story involves sex, and the addiction to sex, and the methamphetamines, and the chasing after the next guy and the next guy and the next guy and the next guy, to the point where I might have all a bunch of naked people and we're doing meth and whatever, blah, 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 but we're not actually having sex. We're sitting around on our phones trying to get the next person over with the next bit of drugs. And like, this is a really, really important part of my story that I don't share very openly because it's like, I do share that in some spaces. Obviously, I'm sharing it here, and it's about to go into jails and prisons.
This goes into 48 jails, and we have 10,000 followers, so you're sharing it to a lot of people.
And but when you tell me that, like, when I heard that was like, I'm not excited about reading that. What I'm thinking is, wow, cool. That not only is that to me, okay, cool, maybe I can share more about who I am. And the impact, because for me, the impact of sex is so much more powerful than the drugs. Yes, absolutely. But it's so much more powerful than anyone I know about, anyone who's close to me really knows about, to the point where to this day, like I'm still learning how to have, healthy sexual relationships. If you have any clues, please send them my way for anybody, because but I'm serious. It's like, it's such an important part of that doesn't get talked about enough. You know, and this is coming from a gay man's perspective, but I imagine, you know, some of the very similar trauma that might be there as well that we could probably go into another time. But you know, I'm glad you do. I want to read it, not because I'm, you know, eager to see about your sex life or about your sex life. It's just more of a,
That's so
okay,
weird and creepy.
I know it is, but it's like I want to break that down because like, but then I have to worry about things like I don't do urine screens around here because I'm worried about somebody saying I don't want that faggot to, you know. Oh, I know. Yeah, but that's what I worry about. That is
Yeah.
a fear because it's actually happened to me.
Yeah.
So like these are things like I don't do things, you know, and I you know, I have to censor myself sometimes, and I don't
Hmm.
but I have to censor myself to get in my job anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
especially today, you
Yeah.
know.
I have a funny little anecdote about the dinner that we attended in Nevada together. The one you spoke at, you did the keynote for. So I was sitting at a table. I wasn't sitting at the McShin table. I was sitting at a table of all people I didn't know, which is fine for me. I don't mind. Actually, it's kind of fun, right? And I say the same sort of silly, stupid joke that I say to everybody I know in recovery when I'm introduced. I say, you know, I've done. I said I'll probably have to ask your name again. I've done a lot of memory destroying substances over the year. And it's sort of a silly joke and it's kind of a throwaway. And I said it to the table. I turned around. I'm looking at the stage. I'm watching. And I turned back around a couple minutes later. And the two women to my left, who are dolled out to the nines, are looking at me in horror. And it was at that moment I realized, you're not in recovery.
Right. Right.
I was like, and I kind of like, and then of course I immediately didn't want to talk to him. But
Right.
that's like, okay, do I want to censor myself? Where's the line? And how do you find that line? And what do you do when you trip up and when you screw up and you go over that line? You know?
It's I learn everything on the job. So I have this weird thing where when I was 4 years sober, I accidentally became a sex expert. I was in Playboy. I wrote stories for Playboy, and suddenly
Oh yeah.
this was a thing. And I was very comfortable talking and writing about my sex life, but that didn't mean I wasn't going to regret it a little bit later. Like, we shall not regret the past. I really don't live with a lot of regrets, but the problem with writing about your sex life is that it can be misconstrued. And, it's like Party Girl is the greatest thing I've ever written. I think it's a brilliant book, but it starts with a threesome. And so there are probably the majority of the people are going to categorize it in a certain way because of that. And that's just the reality of our society and our shame around sex and our titillation around sex and all of the things. So in retrospect, I wish I had been less open, but I do think there's a way to write about sex in a way that's not titillating and, that isn't going to have that response and to explore it, because we're so, oh my God, we're just such a repressed society. And that's why sex addiction and all of these things flourish, because we won't have these conversations. And I'm as uncomfortable with it as the next person. And I was a sex expert on TV. So that's my spiel.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I just, I love being able to have people, and read books and just kind of seeing where people come from. Women specifically. I've gotten I'm reading Ryan's book right now, Unsettled. I love him and adore him. So I'm almost done that. So the next, I found another woman. So I just try to support, I mean, no offense, but just women. So I just get I just surround myself. I want to read about women, not only to help me in my life as a woman, mom, wife, all the hats that we wear, but also when I was writing the book, I read a bunch of different amazing women's books, and both of y'all's were on that list. And, I think it's crucial to get your story out bigger and broader if you're willing to do so. I mean, I've been doing this a long time here at McShin. I mean, it's gotten pretty bad, with the death and, now with COVID and the past 2 years, it's been hard. The epidemic has skyrocketed, the addiction epidemic. So it's like, I don't know. I'm just a true believer that, our stories have power and we can help people, whether it's male, female, transgender, any person, any human, And it's important for us to be able to be a voice and be able to tell our stories, and I could resonate with both of your books. I mean, I resonated with. So if you could give like a few tips on other women out there or men or whatever on, because I know for me, those 2 years were like, oh, I want to, but I suck. And then, and I'm not, no one's going to buy it. And then like, when do I have the time? That was my biggest hold up, because me and John have another company that I run. And then I have McShin and then a mom and all that stuff, so if y'all could both just touch on like aspiring writers out there, and a lot of people that know, they're like, wait, you wrote a book? I want to write a book. How do you write a book? And I'm like, well, follow this, and I give them, y'all follow their social media. So I give people social media, and stuff so how would y'all just like someone that has a full career, full, parent or whatever, like some advice on where to even start at? I was actually in the jails. So we were in a bunch of jails before COVID. Now we're in almost 3 again. What I mean by in the jails out there, well, if you're in jail, you're watching us, hey, but we deliver peer recovery support services. We're hope dealers instead of dope dealers. We're hope dealers. We go inside jails and deliver our shared lived experience, but recovery support anyway. So when they were doing their worksheets, I do the women, so women specific workbooks and stuff. So when they would write, I would just pull out my notebook and I did an outline for a year, outline of my whole entire life for a year. And but then I'd start Anna David, so with Ryan. And so anyway, that's how I started. And then I finally started slowly. I got an editor here. She's letting me make monthly payments, which is amazing because I couldn't have a whole chunk of money. So anyway, God put all these awesome people in my life. I truly believe that. But I guess, Anna, with you, how would you suggest, because I know your podcasts are freaking amazing, like your podcast, because we're going to have Ed Creasy on. We had a whole box of his books.
December 2nd.
Yeah, I just listened to that this morning. We're taking the box of books to one of our jails after each of our houses gets one. But anyway, so your podcast is free, and
well, first of all, when you were talking about jails, I was like, oh my God, I got to get Ed Cressy connected to them.
Yeah, where he's coming. Yeah.
Oh, his book is amazing. I also have another client, Sarah Burnell, who's former prisoner, who has a book called Something Better Brewing. I would love to get that in.
Bring him.
She'd be a great guest too. So here's the thing. Writing a book, in my opinion, does not take that much time. What takes a lot of time is procrastinating writing a book. If you can write 3 pages a day, which most people can, you could finish a book in a couple months. But all those stories and all the, with those stories we tell ourselves, they're very time consuming and very boring. So I'm not a believer in writer's block. I always say it's like the bricklayer doesn't wake up and go, I just don't feel motivated to lay bricks. Like, I guess I can't do it. It's if you are going to respect yourself and honor yourself enough to share your story, my God, respect and honor yourself enough to show up every day and do it. Because it's not, you can do it. I also think the sign of a writer is one day you think you're writing a book that's going to change the world, and the next you wonder like why it's even you can bother putting keyboard to paper. So, because I don't think any of us would do it unless you really were like, you know what? I think I may be the new Glennon Doyle. Why not? No, why not me? And then, but so, and I have tons of material. Yes, my podcasts are free. I also was trying to remember, I do have a download a publication prep pack that we're giving away, and I can put the link and all the things. But if you have that little voice in you that's telling you to do it, and the New York Times says 81% of people believe, want to write a book, what are you waiting for? Didn't COVID teach you that, a time is precious and you never know what's going to happen? So just go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I would say that there's no right way to do it. I think a lot of people don't start anything because they feel like they don't have the right process or the right way to do it. I'm like super unorganized, and I am like messy and like in the way I process things. And I'm like, I do really well in chaos. So when people like were giving me these like, put this like this and this like this. I was like, oh, writing a book is not for me because Jaydee does not live her life like that. Have you seen my purse? You know, like, and so I had to start owning who I am and be like, Jaydee, if you're going to write this book, just do it your way. It's the only way you're going to get it done. So when I started to just copy and paste, I just tell people to start writing. And I normally say, like, all the stuff you post on social media or all the things you want to share about your life, like even if they're a paragraph long, copy and paste them and put them in a Google Doc. You can figure out how they go together later. Just like start copying and pasting and writing and putting it all in there. And then one day you're going to, want to lean into putting it in there a certain way, but like once, like if you see my book is not written, it doesn't feel like it's like chopped up chapters. So like that's what like worked with me. That's what resonated with me, was to like have titles that felt really good to me and to continue write my story. So like some of them are like, I think one of my chapters is like dip can, like all that type of stuff, like little things that like were part of my story. Like I allowed those to be the titles. And so I could just continue writing what felt right to me. So it doesn't matter that your book looks like everybody else's. Someone's going to want to pick up your book because it's yours, and they're going to resonate with it because they think like you, or they talk like you, or they have lived certain experiences like you, not because it looks like the next person's. So like, just like Anna said, all the stories that we tell ourselves in our head are only the things that are keeping us from doing what we were intended to do. So like, it's not easy. Your life isn't easy. Like half the time when I was sitting, like, because I wrote all my stuff at night. So like after my son went to bed, because I work a full-time job, I wanted to be present with him after. It's what I did with school too. So I'm pretty much low-key nocturnal. So if you ever see anything going up on Facebook or social media or whatever at like 3 o'clock in the morning, that's because your girl's still up. But like, so you also prioritize what's important to you. So at the end of the day, if it means losing some sleep or waking up a little bit earlier or taking your lunch breaks to grind or anything like that, that's because that's where your intention goes. And your intention goes to where your priorities are. So like spend those moments doing what you know that you should be doing and doing what you feel like you were born to do, or it's never going to get done. So
yeah. Amen. So that's exactly just type. I just did it when I could and crushed it. So we'll see. But
I also love what Jaydee just said. It's not easy, but neither is life. Like what is that easy? Shopping at an outlet mall, that's pretty easy.
You say that, but I spent I'm not kidding. I spent 45 minutes yesterday trying to find the right adult coloring book to give to somebody I'll never ever meet. Because that's where my obsession goes. Oh my God, is it right? Are these the right colors to go with that? What if this, and so I will make that scary for me. This is how my disease goes. And I'm the opposite of what Jaydee was saying. I'm not organized as I would like to be, but I have this ridiculous dedication to structure and organization. And if anything sort of deviates from that, that's why I don't like the word structure. Anything deviates from that, I start to easily crumble with that rigidity. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'm getting better. I mean, I'm in recovery and I'm still pretty new. And it's something I actively work on. And I can spend 45 minutes at Target choosing the right coloring book to make sure that the Hanukkah gift for the old person over here I'll never meet is correct. And I'm like, oh, where do I get that time back? Because I'm the guy who will spend, should it be an inch margin? Should it be an 1.25 inch margin? What about the footer? What font am I using? Is Times New Roman too old school? Can I go with a sans serif font because I want to be modern? What am I using? Do I name the chapters? I mean, this is where I get stuck. And I love what you've talked about both today when I saw you in Vegas and I need to watch your podcast, clearly. One thing that I really got out of Vegas and Mobilize Recovery, we were part of this, what do we call it? The story of self. It was the narrative, the personal narrative coaching, right? And so we did this huge day-long project, and a lot of things came from that. We should divide it up, yada, yada, yada. all the stuff that was there was absolutely incredible. And from that and the things that I learned, and I helped coach people on this, I'm now taking this and I'm doing it here. And in that and learning how to do this story of self and how that work, and this is a little bit of a different end goal, but it's kind of the same end goal. We're telling our stories for whatever we're trying to do, and it's for advocate for whatever. And so doing that process is making it for me mentally, oh, you know what? I can put this story to paper somewhere. I can do this. You know what? That is interesting. And I love what you were talking about, how certain things resonate with people and you don't even realize what's going to land. I did theater a lot when I was a kid, and in my early adulthood, I was on stage a lot, and you never knew where the jokes were going to land necessarily. I find it the same way with the stories I tell and the groups that I facilitate here. It's like I never know exactly where something's going to land, and that's funny. It's I like that. Sometimes something will land in 1 week and not the next. Depending on the crowd. So. Boy, we're getting the time. I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
Well, and all I can say
love
is,
you guys.
Yeah, if I can do it, you can do it too.
I love that.
So
yeah. I might need a little more time in recovery, though. I need some emotional stability.
Well, I wrote mine in 10 months.
No, I mean, like, mentally, I need more emotion. I'm only at 3.5 years at this point. I'm like, I think I need like 10. Like you, we have what, 14, 17? 14.
Yeah.
I wrote my first at 5 years.
Oof, that's a goal. I can set that goal.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
that doesn't mean you can't write, though.
Yeah.
You still need to be writing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, just started. I started on my phone in the notes app. I got someone else that's a mentor of mine, I guess, too. And she's like, girl, just start writing, talking. I didn't do the talk, but I started on my porch just, with coffee and and then I was like, I'm getting older. I need readers. I was like, I got to get on my computer and do this. So then I just started a Google Doc, and that's how I wrote my book. It was on a Google Doc, a shared Google Doc.
Well, and maybe right now it's not writing the story. Maybe it's about the struggle and feeling worthy in writing it.
Yeah.
So like, why don't you write about that? Because how many people are struggling with that? Like so many people. So that's the in-betweenness I'm talking about that we rob people of because we wait till a certain point to write when you could be writing about the struggle in between.
Yeah, your book title, In Between.
In Between.
Yeah.
Would the two of you at
we'll
some
have
point?
Y'all here all night.
Yeah, as I say, we will, and we need to land the plane. But would the two of you be willing to come on at separate times, I suppose, and actually read an excerpt from the book? I didn't even think about this, but at some point we should do that. And of course, you as well.
Yeah, well, one of our board chair, Debbie Roosevelt, she put up a post. Her son came through here 9 years ago, and I was the lucky person. I picked up the phone that day. Well, she is in a book club, so her next book is Party Girl. So I gotta give her the heads up.
You better just Debbie shock easily. I mean, not if her son's in recovery.
I don't know who was up in her book club.
She's our board chair. She knows John.
She's our first chairwoman ever, which I was excited about that. But anyway, she's precious. So I'm gonna give her the link, or she can find it on Amazon. And so you're her next book club. So
yay.
Yeah, well, just go to Jaydee, and then my book will be done by then, and then she can do mine. But well, I thank y'all both so much for being not only our guests, but being two amazing women, that I looked up to and still look up to. And I will be listening to your podcast. I do it every morning on my way to work. And Jaydee, I will do whatever I can. We do a lot. I love supporting people, specifically women. And you see, I share it on my social media, McShins, whatever. So we'll do whatever we can to help you. Actually, I'm going to buy some of your books when we get back into Pamunkey to one of the jails, because the female pod sometimes is a little lighter than the male. So I would get the female pod y'all's books. So yeah,
I would think it would be important to have some of the men read the stories too.
Yeah.
I mean, not for
true.
Because the titillation part aside, when I read about, I learned a lot about trauma and how that affects different people since I've been in recovery, and that's been a really important part, is learning about being more sensitive with other people. So
well, we'll get them. I'll get them off Amazon because we get free shipping with Prime. So
look at fancy. By the way, if you want like a link to give your people so that they can download free information from us, I can give it to you. I don't know when this goes out or Ooh, look at this.
Ooh, and black
79.
edits.
Wow. And black, yes.
Yes.
45 days. I started writing, for those who are not watching, I started writing my story about 45 days ago. I am 79 years old. Not about addiction, but abandonment.
Good for you,
Wow.
Anne.
Good for you, man.
You
Good for
know, Laura Ingalls Wilder, I think she was in her 70s when her
Love
first book
that.
sold. There's a bunch of examples, so it's never too late. My mom's 80 and she can't stop writing.
So is it annadavid.com?
The best site for Legacy Launchpad Pub is my company, and I can give you a link to stuff that
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't know. You put it in the show notes, all the things.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you want to say anything to close out? I'm sorry.
I did.
jumped
Y'all
in.
are badass. Thank you
are
for
badass.
helping me write my book and get my story out there. I really, truly appreciate it. And I officially, I had a name, but I changed it. It is called Scattered Pink now, and a diary of a woman in recovery. So Scattered Pink, it's a whole meaning. Everyone knows here that pink is my jam, but it's a whole meaning. I looked up the word pink and the noun version of it. It's coming together as like one. It's such a cool. Anyway, so it's Scattered Pink. Yep.
Scattered Pink. When do you release?
I'm hoping January.
Okay.
Right now it's like an Ingham Spark. Y'all know all the drill. And then we're getting it on Amazon. And I'm self-publishing because I learned so much from Anna that self-publishing is a badass way to go. And then I heard from Jaydee that she just hustled and pimped out her book to Barnes and Noble. So I'm gonna go get them in my hand, and you're gonna help me, and we're gonna go and to all the bookstores.
I love it.
Well,
Yay,
I love it too.
Oh, that's awesome. So our guest today, thank you again to our amazing CEO co-host, Honesty Liller. I know it is fun. To Justice Bogner over there, Justin Bognar. That's an inside joke. And thank you so much to Jaydee Graham and to Anna David for being our extra special guest today. I really appreciated this conversation. I want to tell everybody tomorrow on the show, we've got, I'm going to have one of my coachees on the show. I'm going to be running the show from behind the desk over there where Justice is. So if it works, great. If it doesn't, hey, look, I'm not telling a story here. It'll be my first time alone with the equipment. If you smell smoke, run. We're going to take the day off on Thursday because we have an event here in the building with the Phoenix. On Friday, we have an extra special show again. Friday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, we have award-winning filmmaker Greg Williams in the house he is a creator of The Anonymous People and about to be released the new film Tipping the Pain Scale, which is a documentary film you know what? For short, it talks about people who are in the solution with addiction recovery, and I think we got to preview that when we were in Vegas. It was an amazing video, amazing film. We're going to have some of the people here on Monday. We're going to see a preview of that film on Monday here in Richmond, and we're going to have some of the people in the film doing a little panel. It's going to be awesome. But Greg will be here 9:30 on Friday, and then on Monday at 2:00 we got another special episode with one of the guys in the show, Joseph Green. He is a Virginian. He's coming from Springfield, Virginia, about north of here. He's a spoken word artist. He got to open for Macklemore when we were in Vegas, so he is fresh off his tour now. I know, right? It was absolutely amazing, JD. I saw your facial expression there. It was incredible, and I'm so excited to have him in here. We're gonna have to adjust the cameras because he's like 7 feet tall and I'm all of 5'4.5". So anyway, we got a great rest of the week lined up for you. We'll see you again. Thank you to our guest producer and our co-host over here. Have a great night, y'all.
Thank you so much. This was lovely.
Thank you. Love.